Just like a switch. And we'll just,
It's so easy to know these things.
and then put the
But
left
then
slide.
it's still
Increase
breathing.
it. Yep. Like a lot of people don't
Easy
Is that a tree?
It's a custom.
Is that a flat country, right?
Yeah, it's a hoop, and then they also customize the loop with more.
And the little round.
Probably, well.
Now, I feel like that dressage whip, if you were at an actual show, would be too long.
Okay, I'm ready.
So make sure you don't get disqualified. Yeah, training custody.
Yep.
enter working trot. At salute, proceed working trot. C track left. E circle left 20 meters. FXH change rein working trot. Between C and M, working canter right lead, proceed to B. B, circle right 20 meters. Between B and F, working trot. Between F and A, medium walk to K. KXH, loop, free walk. HC, medium walk. CB, working trot. B, circle right 20 meters, rising, stretching. Before B, shorten the rein. BSAK, working trot. KXM, change rein, working trot. Between C and H, working canter left lead, proceed to E.
self-going horse. So what parts did you love about that?
My nature is to pick out the bad bits.
That's all of our nature. That is neuroscience right there, right? We're
Yeah.
designed to see the bad things, the good things don't kill us.
Yeah. Her energy was good, nice and forward. I could have reined it in a little bit, I think, at times.
The problem is you're listening to everyone be self-going, and I was like, ladies and gentlemen, we have a self-going horse.
Jitters. I was more accurate than I normally am. I don't know if that translates to accurate.
Your circles were quite circly. And your seat's lovely. Like you have this beautiful seat. When she sort of drifted off the wall a little bit for you there, I saw you just shift your weight instead of just pulling her to the wall. You shifted your weight and you kind of eased her back, and it was lovely.
We're working on it.
So she actually paid attention to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She gives good feedback, things like that. So.
Yeah. And then in the stretchy trot, so the stretchy trot, that's one of those ones that's times 2, right?
Oh,
When you
okay.
do. So
Okay.
that's one that you want to work on and nail. Like if I was going to practice something, I would get a better stretch out of her, because I was like, well, this is going to be a challenge for her. Like because there's not a lot of neck there to stretch, and you've got to sort of grow a pretend one.
Yes.
But she did. She had moments where she tried to stretch, and she sort of like played with her balance, and then she rebalanced just by bringing her head back up.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot that the walk was supposed to be free for the first half.
Yes, and there's a comment on that. The second half.
Oops, this is free walk.
The second half was more correct, but
Yes.
the good correction, and that's just it, right? Like if you make a mistake, like the same thing one of the girls earlier, because the wrong lead, just correct it. It's fine. So you corrected it. You gave the reins, and that's it, right? Free walk. We want to see to the buckle where it is. So that's where you. And we want to see again too that we talked about. I think with the one before, I don't know if you were probably getting ready, but just that neck oscillation, which is a little bit probably more difficult when you're dealing with such a baroque type of horse with a very meaty neck.
In the free walk.
Yeah, and the free walk, but even in like a working walk, we still want to see the neck being able to move a bit. But you have that. You've got a nice angle to your elbows, and so she looks very comfortable. So it looks very comfortable working together. Yeah, so the stretchy trot, like again, those are the ones like practice that like crazy, because you can win a test on it. Because right, like if you get a 5 on that, then it's only 10 points.
Yeah.
But if you get a 7 on that, that's 14. Like that makes a dramatic difference, and that can take a class, that can win the class for you, right? The same thing with that loop, the walk loop. That's also a coefficient score. So you got a 5.5 on your loop. We already talked about why, right? And then the same thing with the stretchy trot, a 5.5 on that. If you can bump those scores up, then let's say you got a 7.5 or an 8. Now you've really changed your percentage.
Yeah. Are those the only 2 point the double coefficients?
You've got the circle right and the circle left are also total right.
Okay.
So like in the training levels it's circles, right? But you ride your corners quite well. There was a bit of a drift coming at the center line at first, and it's funny because there's no line quite so hard to ride straight as that entrance up center line. Right?
Yeah, we missed it.
Right, but you had a nice and mobile halt, and just like a really happy looking horse, and I feel like that's really important. I mean, I would rather the horse look happy and like willing to go than the horse be wringing its tail, ears pinned, and more pain in his throat. So she seems really happy in her work. So we could you know, the stretching trot is the connection work, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we could spend a little time in that if you're comfortable
Yeah.
with that, and then, because that will sort of end up working on improving circle marks too, and you already know how to improve your free walk. Yeah.
Follow directions.
Yeah.
But,
In my struggle.
you know, and the nice thing that canter looks like, I love like thicker horses, they look so comfortable because they just sit. Like, you know, they're not like heavy front thoroughbred that wants to sort of drag you along, and like, they just sort of sit on their butt. So it looked like a really nice, it looked like a really comfortable canter
It is.
to sit,
It is.
yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, and the other thing too is like the suppleness and flexion. That's a job on these guys because she's sort of built like a bodybuilder and not a yoga instructor.
Yeah.
So like bodybuilders aren't as flexible, right? So you work within what you can.
Yeah.
So if we're going to ask her for like little flexions, she doesn't need to turn herself inside out or into a pretzel. She just needs to show you her eyeball and her nostril. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the same
That's
thing.
another thing I know we need to work on is the flexion.
Well, and I feel like when you ask for a little bit of flexion, you ask for a little bend, she's like, I'll just give you more forward. How's about that? Right? So this might be where, you know, a little homework thing we're working on is the effectiveness of the half vaults. Now I get the feeling that if she feels trapped by a half vault, then she just sets her neck straight and just goes. So that half vault, it might be another instance of you have to, like to move up the levels, you're going to need more of that half vault. You might need to turn up the volume in 1 week to get her to pay attention. But because if it lasts 2 beats or 4 beats or you know a few strides, then you'll never win
No.
an arm
She
wrestle
just
with
sets
her.
herself against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes we like see these thick horses and people think that they're not sensitive. Like,
Oh.
do you know what I mean? Like because I mean they're usually quite stoic in that, but they're very sensitive and very light on the eggs. It's
Yeah.
kind of upsetting to watch.
And from the beginning, because the York can be a very lazy breed, like everything has to be forward.
Well, you succeed.
So now I'm at a point where I need to say, not everything needs forward. Some of it needs
Right.
bend and
But it's hard because some of these horses have like no actual self going forwardness, and then when you're half vaulting, you're just pulling. Like you're just pulling on nothing because there's nothing there's no water filling the hose, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You're pulling on an empty hose.
yeah.
So at least now you've got water in your hose, you've got water pressure. So now it's measuring it, right? Okay. So let's go on to if you've got energy, which I think you do. Let's go on to a 20-meter circle and see if we can do this stretching drop here. I don't have a lot of experience with keywords to do that. So it looks to me already like to keep her out on the circle, you kind of use both reins and you hold them to the outside.
Yes. Sorry.
So Canadian. Sorry. Now, slow down that pose for a second. So just slow yourself. To get that inside leg a little bit more forward. And have you just stay on a circle?
No,